Okay, well, we have been talking about adventure-based parenting, and so this is week 2. So our content went from the culture of adventure, and when we designed this course, the 12-week course on adventure-based parenting, obviously the first topic was going to be adventure, and just what is adventure? So that was last week's live chat, and for today, I can easily say, as a clinician, therapist, the conversation that I have I have it every day, and I have it over and over. And the conversation is about motivation, lack of motivation, how to feel inspired, sense of meaninglessness or futility. And so for week 2, that is the conversation. That is the topic, motivation.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully you've been able to take some time and meet together as a family, or grab some time, maybe even individually, depending on your schedules and all of that, to go through some of these questions of what motivates your kids, your teens, your spouse, yourself. Take the time to ask yourself these questions too. And I think you'll find there's quite a variety of responses. And maybe you'll get surprised too. I mean, that's why we ask the questions, right? And also, the answers to these questions might change over time.
They'll definitely change over time. We put in the content for this week too. There's that whole list of questions and just kind of some ideas that kind of kick off some thoughts, and they will change over time as we kind of incorporate others and gain these successes. It's interesting, and of course, just developmental stages change as well. So we do change in our motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just thought I'd throw out an example of our family. So yesterday was a harvest day, a different kind of harvest. It wasn't our vineyard. We went.
That was today.
We did that this morning. Yesterday, I went with the girls to an apple orchard, local apple orchard, to pick apples. And
what'd you pick?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So I decided to interview each of the kids and say, what do you like about being here? And so the motivation for each of them was unique. One of them, it was about eating as many apples as they could. Free apples, woohoo! Somebody else, it was the challenge of getting the apple at the highest branch, the biggest, nobody else, because she's the tallest, could reach that apple. And then the other kiddo, it was all about getting the perfect apple. Now you can imagine who had the fullest bags of apples by the end of the adventure.
Yeah, we've seen that one's motivation has outcomes, right? There are consequences. There's a logical train. Yeah.
So that's just a small example. But I do find that competition motivates music, food, relationships seem to motivate all of us. We've found that to be very true. Taking the time to listen and go through an experience with a kid. And that's part of why we've set certain
milestones or rites of passage.
Yep. To make sure that we do these very pointed experiences with our kiddos. And then if we see that relationship piece starting to be lost, or we take the time and say, okay, we're going to go for a drive. We're going to go for a hike. We need to focus in on this kid and do something. Find out where's their motivation? What are we going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good telltale when relationship.
It's not convenient though.
No, I mean I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
It's a good telltale when we find that relationships start to slip and just something feels wonky. It tends to be. I mean, it's a good gut check to look and see. Okay, well, what are we connecting? Because probably not. We're doing what's convenient, And what's convenient is rarely. I mean, think about going to a convenient store. I mean, how often would one really want to get their nutrition, their sustenance from a convenience store, which is the name? Wouldn't it make sense that would be the good stuff? So what is convenient is rarely what is healthy, what is best for you. And so it is a good reminder that I think we're slipping into selfishness and just into our own time. And so it's a good reminder that, okay, we have to turn up. I say this so often with clients, and certainly as a family, we have to turn up the relationship knob. And it is inconvenient. It means we have to take time, we have to slow down, we have to be intentional, or we're going to choose to be. That's how relationships actually happen. Because, a family is not a group of robots. We require time and energy and investment. Yeah, that's good.
And just to recap from last week, because this will be something that we will continue to talk about, our SMART goals. And I think you were going to touch on that.
Yeah, well, it's a good topic, especially as we look at what motivates a person and how can we be inspired. I mean, having goals, if we don't have goals, it's very difficult to be motivated toward them. And so a challenge that I have come across, personally, I'll just speak for myself, is I never had liked, really spelling things out, making detailed lists. I mean, aspirational lists, but getting really just felt too academic, I suppose. What I found was that the goals that I was willing to put down on paper and go through a SMART process, those were the goals that I was succeeding in. And the fun goals that I just thought would be great, that I didn't operationalize, they rarely happen. So a SMART goal is something that is, start with the main goal. Start with just an overarching idea, the fun goal or the difficult, whatever. Start with that. And then make it specific. So if it's going to be, I'm not going to give examples for each one, but for example, like I want to get fit. Okay, that's a fine goal. We have no idea what that actually means. So specifically, what does fit mean? So make it specific, make it measurable. So how will I know that I'm succeeding, failing, that I'm progressing? So specific, measurable, achievable would be ideal. Something that is achievable, something that's realistic, and time-based. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. And then take that, I want to get fit, run it through that matrix. And at the end, you can plug all those different inputs in, and then you have a kind of clarified, you would have a clarified SMART goal.
So they're great building blocks for that overarching goal that you have.
Yeah, it's great to have that kind of fun, like kind of a working first draft goal. That's how we get to make them smarter. I think so much of this conversation that I mentioned about motivation was I talk about it with clients all the time. People are very often saying, I just don't feel. And yeah, it is so great to go through the normal process of being inspired, then feeling that sense of motivation, and then I'm gonna take action. I just watched Rocky, and I'm so pumped. And then now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start running. Yeah, I'm gonna start running. I'm gonna get some gray sweats, and I'm gonna run, and I'm gonna take action. And it's so nice when all the things come together and that works that way. Most of my conversations with people are about, those other two parts. Like I saw Rocky 3 years ago and I haven't run since. But I want to run. So the important hack is that inspiration, motivation, action, relationship is cyclical.
Yeah, I love that because it's just so easy to get distracted or don't know, just not motivated. And if you have your SMART goal, you know what action to take. And,
Exactly.
And then, when you say, okay, accountability helps too. Sometimes Derek and I will do this with each other. Wake up, hey, do you want to go running? And I'm thinking, I don't want to go running, but if I tell him let's go running, and he says yes,
she's the good one, right? Yeah,
then we'll go running. So that's the action. Sometimes it's just grabbing that person and saying, hey, let's go do this together, and then all of a sudden you're doing it, and then you feel so good. And we're talking about fitness, but that could be you could go back to the culture of adventure, and maybe it's going to an event, or being a part of an event, or getting more music involved, or there's so many ways you could do SMART goals. We're just talking about fitness because it's
well, I think I kicked it off with the Rocky reference.
Right.
So, but the other piece to having those SMART goals already defined is you already know what the thing is. It's on paper.
Right.
And so when we don't feel motivated, we also tend to feel we don't have ideas. There is this sense of we're just in that pit. And when you're in the pit, it's tough to see out of it. And so the other thing I mentioned that it's cyclical, and it's like if you've only driven an automatic vehicle, then you might not get this reference, but it's like you got a stick shift and you park it on a hill. Like if you've got some engine trouble.
Sorry, I'm thinking of memories here.
Well, exactly. Some of us, have
Jump started.
Had some adventurous tales. So if you're having some battery trouble, you park the vehicle on a hill. And so, you can pop the clutch and roll start the engine. So that's just taking action. Like you didn't get any electric there. You are forcing that into the vehicle through gravity, effectively. And that's exactly what's going on. Is gravity is against you typically when we're waiting for this inspiration and motivation. Mm-hmm. And it all depends on that gravity. Well, if you know that is something about yourself, then set yourself up for success. If you in fact want to succeed, then have your running shoes on. Well, many of us are. With them. No, you have your gear ready. And the problem is that we don't set ourselves up for success as often as we should. And we tend to appreciate that. And I guess the question is, what are we actually doing? At the end of the day, if we say we have a goal and we don't do that thing, and we keep doing that, well, what actually is our goal? Yeah. So our challenge in this one is to really dive into this motivation and accountability, being clear with your goals and recognizing that you can just start with action. Mm-hmm. If you know what the goal is, just act as if, just get moving. And then inspiration, motivation will then kick in just in due course. It just happens.
Yeah. Something else I like about this week, and when we're talking about motivation, is the emphasis on the why. Why are asking that question? Because that's a huge motivator in the. Oh, I guess we have.
We'll pop in real quick. Yeah.
Who do we have coming?
Yeah, it's a mystery guest.
Oh, it's Floral.
All right. Here, come have a seat.
You found us.
All right, we're doing our video right now. Have in the middle.
Have a seat in the middle. People are watching.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
So, asking the why, and it has to be, the why has to be stronger than the obstacles that you face in your goals. So I know for me, oftentimes the why is the family, the kids, and their future. When I'm really having a hard time motivating myself to do something, I think, well, why am I doing it? And I think, well, if I'm not doing it, how can I expect my kids to do it? And so then I go and do the thing. And maybe there's an obstacle, and then I reevaluate and say, okay, what would I want my kids to do when they hit this obstacle? Well, they can't just make an excuse. They have to find a way the next time and evaluate how to do this. And so that's a huge motivator for me, and with the why question. and you have to figure out what your why is as well.
It really does have to be a meaningful.
Thanks for your example.
It does need to be a meaningful why. If it pales in comparison to the challenge, then that wins. It won't have enough staying power. And of course, failure happens. We do mess up. There's all kinds of ways that we can pile upon ourselves and kind of prove to ourselves that, well, see, I really I'm not very motivated, or I'm not good, or sure, stuff happens. The trick is the why strong enough to get you back going? And if it's not, it's time to look for a stronger one. I suppose as we kind of move to wrap for this week, I just really want to reach out to folks and say, please do continue to ask questions in the tribe. It's been great to see some of the comments there. It was great to see all the comments there. And for those of you who are just getting into this and getting a sense of adventure-based parenting, there's a lot here, and the community is definitely the strong driver. Getting a sense of where everybody is across the globe, what they're working on, how their families are going through unique and yet very, very similar challenges. And it is a tough world. We're in a place where a prime reason for lack of motivation is there's always something at the fingertips. There's always something to scroll through. And interestingly, for most of us, it's not even that interesting. It's just there. And it's just constant drip of a filler. And that's not our best life. That's not our best reality. We are not well served by being stuck to the scroll. So remember, you are called to guide your family along the path that they should go. So be resilient, be motivated, and build relationship.